in that much. Okay, so um, some of the best advice I've ever heard come from the Buddha. I only saw it recently in a sutta.
All right.
That before it was just, good advice that somebody said or another. And in fact, also, the Thai society obviously has been taking that good advice, and I'll explain it to you in a moment. But there is a sutta that the Buddha is talking about for laymen, especially those that are dedicated to the practice of Dhamma, is to actually reinforce that dedication of practice of the Dhamma throughout the day by leaving the household duties
Oh,
to
okay.
others, especially to the wife. Let her, or in your case, girlfriend, let her be the boss completely. Anything that she wants is okay with you.
All right.
And that
Yeah.
might take some training, because you've gotten in a way or set way of doing things.
Hmm.
So this Buddha's advice is in fact beneficial in two different ways. One is that it helps to wake up
Hmm.
to wanting our way all the time, rather,
Yeah.
and that here's the thing that I have found out about women that I didn't know before. As old as I am, I've been around a long, long time. But when I actively started practicing this, I figured out something, and I think that it goes just beyond Thai women and how they were raised. I
Okay.
think, in fact, all women enjoy being the boss of their own home.
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
And so while you're there, just kind of imagine that you're a guest in her house and that never mind who pays the rent or anything like that. Let's talk about an emotional situation.
Okay.
And that when a woman is given this with her not having to fight for it,
Hmm.
she becomes enormously grateful because normally women, especially in the West, have to fight to gain the control.
Hmm.
Because and who do they fight with? The guys. And why do they fight with them? Because the guys want control. Not realizing that, of course, what's going on is that you actually are taking control, but you're taking control over your own
Okay.
mind. To let her do that. So whenever there's something that comes up and that she wants to do that is suspicious in your mind, you need to give her that benefit of the doubt.
Hmm.
And I'm talking about not just little things. I'm talking about very, very serious things.
Okay. Mhm.
Like, for instance, if you're laying on the floor and she says, I'm taking you to the hospital, you don't argue with her. Okay? If she wants you to go to the hospital, you go to the hospital. None of this macho stuff that I'm used to doing. So the big stuff as well as the little stuff.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but there is a book that is called or has to do with the stories of Mullah Nasruddin. I ran
No, I
across this
don't.
book in
Okay.
India, and it is just hilarious. It
Okay.
is probably the high point of Islamic humor.
Oh,
But
okay.
in this book is the sayings of Mullah Nasruddin in various contexts. And so I'll give you two of them. One is the pertinent one. I'll give it to you second. But the first one is that he was just crossing the avenue, the square of the little town that he was going, in going in the direction that he always goes, which is to his favorite restaurant or whatever. And the cop was out there, and just in passing, they exchanged pleasantries. And then the cop asked him, "Well, where are you going, sir?" And Nasruddin says, "I don't know." And that ticked off the cop. He says, "What do you mean you don't know?" And he says, "Well, I'm not sure. I don't really know where I'm going." And he says, I don't like your attitude. I'm going to take you to the police chief right now. And he grabbed him by the arm, and Nasruddin looked at him and said, see, I told you I didn't know where I was going. And so the next story is the one that's pertinent, but that one's funny. The second story is the story that someone asked him about this very issue.
Okay.
What do you do? And Mullah Nasruddin says, "Oh, well, I let my wife take care of all of the really unimportant things. She does all of that kind of stuff. I only take care of really big things." And they says, "What?" And he says, "Yes, I let her take care of the really little things like where do we live, what school the kids go to, what kind of car we have, what bills we're going to pay, all of the really little stuff." And then they said, "Well, what are the big things?" And he says, "Oh, is there a God or not? Who am I?" And other really important questions. That's all I really care about. Well, and so that's not really a Buddhist story because the Buddhists wouldn't see those things as important. They're not really important things. In fact, if it were Buddhist, the important thing to ask is, why do I think anything's important?
Right.
Why should I have to think that things are important? If nothing is important, we've got an easier life. When we go around with a whole lot of important stuff, that's just giving us a lot of work to do.
All right. Yeah, I think I need to work on this a bit.
So, well, this is how deep it goes, and your girlfriend can be an enormously valuable asset in helping you figure out what's important and not. Because anything that she wants, you can just put into the classification as, okay, she can do that. It's unimportant. And let her run all of the stuff that she's. And here's what happens then is the relationship between the man and the woman who have such a relationship where the woman runs the place. And an example of that also is with the kids. Who disciplines the kids? And so the father winds up in the Thai society of being the doting old grandfather that everybody loves so much.
Okay.
But they respect Granny. They do what Granny says to do. Okay. But going back to that point, I think that if I had a choice of which role that I would rather play, I think I'd be old grandpa rather than Granny.
All right.
Grandpa can play with the kids. He's got no job to do. He's got no worries.
Yeah, I think in Western society, it's about the reverse, where men are usually in charge of the discipline, or usually in Western households.
That's the natural way, partly because, in fact, you can even look at the physical structure of humans versus animals. It is very difficult to tell the difference in the size, etc., between a male and a female of the same species of dog. Even the nursing tits on a female dog dry up to the point of just like a male dog when she's not breeding. And so they actually do have to stick their nose in it to find out what's going on. But now let's contrast that to humans, because humans have various distinctions and it's both cultural and expected as well as physiological, and that is women are smaller, more diminutive than men. Now, how did that happen? Is that actually a change in the mental style? That men, in fact, because of women being naturally more nourishing oriented and men becoming, let's say, hunters, that robustness of the male was built in for many, many centuries,
Mm-hmm.
and that uh, I have seen women who could take down a guy. They do have
Yeah.
they do have female wrestlers even in Thailand.
Oh, yeah.
You do not want to mess with one of these ladies.
Yeah, I've seen the judo team in Romania. Some, oh, yeah.
Right, exactly. Uh, and so and in fact, more and more often, I see that in more modern movies that the villain
Okay.
is actually a very beautiful young female that's got enough guts to go do what she wants to do. And and so this is kind of the image, though, that is not portrayed for women. That they've got to be more diminutive, and so what you're doing here is you're inviting that other part of her out
Mm-hmm.
by not challenging it. See, when
Okay.
women challenge men, men challenge women back, and it can get physical in more ways than one. Depends on how it works out. But the point is that if you give her that, then that will help complete her, which means that she will become closer to you, more devoted to you, more willing to please you because you're so pleasing to her because you give her the power and the responsibility that she craves, that is almost not allowed to women in the Western, unless the woman really has to go take it for herself. And here in the East, the men just give it to them.
Huh. Yeah, I wonder why that is, why this significant change in roles in between the cultures. I
Well,
wonder how it came about.
as well, you can see how that came about in Thailand in the sense that the Buddhist Wats and monks and that sort of part of the culture has been here for centuries and
No,
centuries,
okay. Hmm.
and that the monks' training, there's a lot to that, in fact, in this culture. That men who have been monks in their past are considered prime uh, mating mates or prime
Mm-hmm.
mating candidates for women because they know that he's been through the kind of training that she would have to put him through if he didn't already have it. And so that sutra that I'm mentioning was actually intended directly for laymen and lay followers of the Buddha, not the monks. That this kind of training is built into the monkhood of being able to get along with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that's a very important quality of the Sangha in Asia is that the monks are friends with each other. They're not competitive generally. And that lack of competitiveness actually needs to be trained in so that they can
Mm-hmm.
become friends, not competitive. I find that the Westerners, when I see them come to the temples in Thailand and whatnot, they bring their competition
Mm-hmm.
with them. And in that regard, uh, I would prefer not to reflect upon all of the competition that I brought with me when I went to Wat Suan Mo. But coming out of that competitive nature, so
Mm-hmm.
that we can cooperate with each other as monks is what gives them such a prize for the women.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they've got some additional benefits. A guy who's been a monk for a couple more years is unlikely to be a drunk. He's unlikely to beat his wife or kids. He is unlikely to run off. And in fact, there's a really good reason why he doesn't run off, and that is because his mother and his wife's mother are best friends.
Okay.
And so, to where in the West, generally the two mother-in-laws are kind of competitive with each other, status seeking, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
realize how much power they would have if they would unite. And in fact, that's part of the power that the women in Thailand do have, is because they're united within the family.
Mm-hmm.
And with between two families, and the senior woman in one family and the senior woman in the other, they will unite the families through their own unity.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, the best place for that to happen is when they've each got a kid in a marriage, and so now they're really invested as mother-in-laws.
Oh, okay.
And so this whole thing then is to give you the invitation to change out of being the man of the West with all of the kinds of stuff that we have into letting her do everything that she wants to do. Whatever she wants, you're good with it. If she tells you it's time for you to go to town, you go to town. And you do so happily, sure. Now that's a training, and it is worthwhile because it will really make your relationship um, spectacular.
Yeah, and right now maybe I'm having not, these are like little things, not the big stuff. I think I'm a bit more trying to be tidy. I like my stuff clean and organized, and she may be a bit less. And and I say, maybe that's a bit messier than I would do it. I kind of cling to this a bit, but yeah, I'm trying to let go.
All right. Well, here's one way to handle that, and that is ask her permission. And if she rejects it, then leave it alone. Or she may, in fact, want to put your neat and tidiness to work. So always giving her, and you know that this is, in fact, a way of saying it is, this is the death of the male ego. Or that because we're dropping all of the selfishness in that regard. Of I'm the man of the house, I'm the one who says what's going on here. You know the whole mentality. You were raised in
Yeah.
that culture. And so now reverse the roles on that and let her be the boss. Let her have that power. And it's mindfulness training. So you have that benefit, and the relationship improves. So you have two different benefits on this.
Yeah, quite a package. I was thinking about an interesting thing now that came to mind. We're looking back at my parents. So the dynamic in my family is sort of like my dad gives my mom the power, but he resents it. Oh, I'm letting her run me over. Oh my God, this is, and all her relatives. And yeah, but he still does what she wants, but he is very resentful.
Mm-hmm. And who suffers with that? Actually, both of them do.
Yeah,
He
both do.
suffers for resenting it, and then she has to put up with his
Mm-hmm.
resentment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so either you do something, but you do it gladly, or you don't do it. It's kind of stupid that way.
Right. And in that regard, that's like doing what you're told to do. And so, in that regard, you could almost say, because this happens quite often, that, and you're mentioning something, I think that's probably, it's not the most common, but it is common enough that the man actually who he's married is the mother in his brain. And so he has to do what she says to do, but he resents it. And so that's exactly what we're talking about here, that the giving up and turning over is not done out of wisdom and compassion. It's done out of an old habit, and then the bad feelings associated with that habit. So thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, that you can see your dad, that he's not getting any benefit out of this. And all he'd have to do is say, wait a minute, maybe it is okay for her to be the boss. because she already is. You see, she's the
Yeah.
boss and he won't let it happen, so he resents it. If he'd get to the point of, it's really okay that she's the boss, my life will be a whole lot easier if it is. So you might even want to mention that to him. I hope that you catch it at the right time.
Yeah. Oh,
Because that's
yeah.
hard for almost anybody to recognize that we cannot change another person, but we can
Mhm.
change our own mind, that we can, in fact, shape shift, that most people don't have the ability to change their own personality. It's kind of fixed,
Mhm.
almost like destiny. In fact, that is destiny. If people
Mhm.
are in a habit and they don't change the habit, then the destiny is to continue down that same path.
Mhm.
Um, Easy examples in society is he who lives by the sword dies by the sword.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's exactly what we're talking about
If
here.
he keeps
So
holding on to it.
yeah, if he holds that sword, in fact, he may fall on his own sword. But the point is that we need to put away our weapons. We need to put
Mhm.
away our sword, and the only way that we can do that is by becoming fearless, so that we're not afraid. See, the guy who's carrying a sword obviously is carrying one
Mhm.
because there's something to fear. It's dangerous, and so he's using it for self-preservation. But there's nothing to protect ourselves from. We live in a society that's not dangerous. You know, 300 years ago, everybody went around armed.
Mhm.
Now nobody does. There's no reason to. But we still feel like we need to be
Mhm.
armed, that it might be dangerous out there. That in fact, some of us even carry a cell phone. Oh, that's my protection. That at least I can dial 911 quick before he shoots me.
Yeah, at least they'll come and pick up the corpse. Uh,
So thanks for telling me about this. This is really a good practice for you.
mhm.
And it's the kind of practice that is not done on the cushion. This is
Mhm.
not a sitting down meditation. This,
Yeah, I visualize myself. I'll stop telling my girlfriend what to do.
hmm well, here's the way to handle that then. Um, Making note that every time that you're around her, you're going to be doing it from this frame of reference
Mhm.
of that she's the boss, and whatever happens, it's up to her. If you take on that mentality, the way to take it on is by remembering. But
Mhm.
anytime she comes up, when she's there, it's like
Mhm.
hot dog time for alert. Let's see what we can
Yeah.
do to make her happy, you know. And so that's the point of mindfulness: is to be ready for the engagement, so that you can engage it in the most wholesome way, and
Mhm.
then you have a really marvelous relationship.
Mhm. Good. I think you made me see the parallels. I was listening or reading stories about forest monks being trained with an older Ajahn, and they would have them do all sorts of stuff in very specific ways to just to keep them on alert. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a practice in of itself, knowing what the Ajahn wants and how he likes things and being okay with doing it, not resenting it. I
I
don't know
would
if that's
think
part of the training or.
yes. There are similar trainings in the army
Okay.
for
Mm-hmm.
the same thing, except that it's done a little bit differently. This would be done in the army, but never in the Wat, and that would be dig a hole right here.
Uh,
Okay, and when he gets the hole dug, he says, "Okay, fill it up. We're not going to put anything in it. You're just going to put the dirt back in it." And so now he's had to do all this useless work. But what that means is now the young recruit can learn to follow orders without having to know why. In other words, they're training him
Okay.
to be a dumb
Mm-hmm.
animal.
Mm-hmm.
They're training him to do what he's told to do.
Mm-hmm.
The monk, in fact, has got a different purpose altogether. What he's training is to wake this guy up,
Mm-hmm.
to give him the task to do that makes him think and figure things out. And one of the things that we sometimes have to figure out is, wait a minute, what's the point of this? Well, the point of this is for you to ask the question, what's the point of this?
Oh, okay.
So yes, that's kind of that kind of training that does happen in Watts.
Yeah, the idea of
The
being on guard and being mindful of how to treat the other person well and
exactly.
have the relationship be good.
Achan Po's favorite, I don't know if it was favorite or not, but he used it quite often. But his technique with me was to sneak up on me. I would be standing and looking in this general direction for whatever reason out at breakfast time, or there's a group of people over standing around waiting to get on, even on a bus, or whatever it is. And he's going to maneuver around me so that he can whisper something in my ear. And generally what he said was ta-ta-ta.
Okay.
Which was that wake up and be here now was basically what he was saying. And he was catching me asleep if I didn't know he was there. So my job was to keep track of where Achan Po was, because if I don't know where he is, he's going to be right behind me. And I really appreciate the care that he gave me for that. We can't do that kind of thing on the internet with Skype. So all I can do is kind of tell you the stories and give you your own devices for waking up. But yes, that's what happens in the temples a lot. Monks get teased when they don't figure something out. In fact, my time with the American Indians, I came to understand that they did the same thing. An example of that would be, oh, dangerous out there. The grizzly bears here is as big as a house. Okay, is this guy going to believe this or what? You know. And so many different situations are like that that are ripe for waking a student up. And this has been a tradition. In fact, there's a well-known one, and that is the Zen stick. Achan Po used a different kind of Zen stick on me, but he used a Zen stick. Okay, wakey, wakey. And so who gets hit with the Zen stick? The guy who knows he doesn't know he's about to get hit. If he knows the Zen master is behind him, he's not going to get hit. And so that whole quality of waking up now, you can use with this new thing that I'm teaching you about with your girlfriend, that let her be your Zen master. Use her for you to wake up. And how you do that is waking up to remember she gets her way every time. You might even go so far as to tease her by calling her boss. You're the boss here. You do what you want to do. But don't do that the first day. She's got to actually get you so that when you finally say it, she knows that you're already doing that. That's already involved with it. You're just now bringing it out in the open. If you say it in the beginning when she doesn't know what you're talking about, it'll just be more stuff for a fight. But after it's really established, then you can bring it out in the open. Yeah, she's the boss. It really does help in the relationship that I have here.
Okay.
Yeah, I really am the king of the place simply because I'm not the king. If I tried to be the king, I'd be at war all the time. Especially since this is a Thai household. But in fact, what I have done is knowing what I know about culture and Thailand and all of that, I've actually helped elevate her in her own family to where now she's the top matriarch.
Oh,
Even though
okay.
she's not the oldest, she's the one
Mm.
that people come to when they need an extra bed,
Mm.
or they need to borrow a motorcycle, or they need a loan, or they need something. And
Uh-huh.
she's there, building that family capital,
Hmm.
taking care of the situation, taking care of the family members. So this is how she's gained that kind of position. We also give parties and have food for folks to come.
Oh, okay.
And so this is kind of for Tam's family, Grand Central Station in a way.
Okay.
Though right now there's not so many. We've only got three people living with us.
Okay.
And so there's six in the house right now. But there have been more. But not for a while because we've all, in fact, part of it is that we're all kind of stuck in no place to go. So, do you have any other questions, or is this?
I was thinking, yeah, this is just, this is kind of stupid. It's a stupid. I actually know it's a stupid question.
You don't have any specific questions, okay?
No, I said
Well,
that I had a stupid question.
okay.
uh, I was thinking lately about stream entry and what gets you to the point where you kind of live in that area of just not having the, let's say, tree fetters. And I was seeing from some traditions, I think it might be from the Mahasi tradition, but also from some of the Theravada people, about having to have like a moment where reality blanks out to notice that the self is only constructed, and it felt kind of weird to me. So they had like, I think they called cessation experiences, and uh, I'm not convinced that such a thing is necessary. I think you can see the
Okay.
self being constructed. They make like kind of a big deal out of it.
All right. Let me tell you what is then the big deal about it. All right.
Okay.
Most people misunderstand this, that it's a process and that the process is actually a process of insights. So no one or two or a few experiences or insights are going to quite do the job. That is in fact what we're really talking about, possibly the most important genuine one quality that marks a Sotapan can be said in one word, and that is dedication. Dedication to the path. He only cares about the Dhamma.
All right.
Everything else is secondary. Okay? We can use words also like enthusiasm. That whenever we have a chance to hear the Dhamma or to be involved or have a talk about Dhamma with a friend, we're always really enthusiastic about it. It's not confusing to us anymore. We really understand what's going on. And so this is also a quality of the Sotapan. In fact, there is a sutta that has it laid out in seven knowledges.
I think you told me about it
I
a
sure
while back.
have.
Yeah.
I sure have. Yes, it's the
Was
seven
22 or?
knowledges. No, this is in Sutta number 48.
Ah, okay.
And there's also Sutta number 24 that has an alternate version
Okay.
of these seven. And it's more encompassing in the sense that it starts even before the first step of Sotapan. It starts
Okay.
with the very beginner, to where Sutta 48 starts with the first step
And when you
are
see
the
the
first
defilements and
knowledge.
the tasks to be done, right? You have to clear knowing that you have to clear the defilements.
Right. So, Sutra number 24 then has 7 steps, but it's a broader scope because it encompasses pre-Sotapanna as well as the journey after Sotapanna. So, where the 7 stages in Sutra number 24 or 2048 are precisely the 7 knowledges that lead to the state of Sotapanna. And the first one you've heard is knowledge and vision of what is and what is not the path. No, that's number 3. Sorry, I got confused there.
Okay.
No, the first step is that no matter how obstructed the mind gets, I can clean it out and come back to the here now. That's the very first step that's noble. In other words, it's taking charge of our own lives. I can do it. I can come out of my troubles. So our friend is about to join us. I'll go ahead and
Right.
click him in on it. So those 7 knowledges then have to do with the building up of the dedication of the path. So step 1 then is the knowledge and vision of what is and is not. Nope, that's step 3 again. No. Step 1 is that no matter how obstructed with hindrance the mind gets, we can clean that out. And the second step then is the first jhana, being able to keep the mind focused. And then the next state is the knowledge and vision of what is and is not the path through the investigation that we do while the mind is in first jhana. Now
That's because you see what's working and what's not, what takes you to the satisfactory state. Okay.
This is where we begin to grow with dedication. And the dedication is, first off, the first issue is, am I willing to see what I've done wrong and admit to it? Because most people, they don't want to admit that they're wrong. That somehow attacks their own view of themselves. But when we can really admit that we're wrong, then we can change. If we're not willing to admit that we're wrong, we keep doing the same thing over and over again ignorantly. But if you're willing to look at it, confess it, bring it out in the open, make sure that it's that is well known, then we can, part of our dedication then is, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that anymore. Enough of that, because it hurts people. It hurts me. I'm going to stop doing it. And so we, whatever it is that that wrongdoing of whatever kind, we stop doing it through that dedication. Okay, and now dedication grows. So once we get the dedication that we're going to be free from suffering, even to the fact of seeing what we're doing wrong, now we get into an active investigation of what am I doing wrong? I want to check this stuff out really closely. And so our dedication grows. And that's the path of Sotapanna, is when the dedication to the path gets so strong, okay, that you're in it. And so the eagerness is there, the dedication is there, and then finally at step 7, it is delight in the Dhamma. That delight is there is when all doubt is eradicated, and you know for sure, hey man, this is it. There's nothing else to do. And now the dedication is complete. And so that's the full fruit of Sotapanna. Let me get in here and oh, I know what I can do. I can just add him to the call.
Okay.
So is that the answer then to your question?
Yeah, it's a good answer. Hey there.
Hey, hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
This
meet
is
you.
this is Catalin in Romania,
Yeah, hi, Captain.
and
Hey
this
there.
and this is Gotama or Gotam.
Gautam, anything would be fine.
Okay.
Okay,
Nice.
and he's in Bangalore, India.
Nice, nice.
So we had been talking for a while. Catlin, is there anything else that you need?
Actually, yeah, no.
All right. Well, if you don't
I'm good.
mind,
Mhm.
you can stay on as long as you want to. But
Mhm.
what I'd like to do, because of the video's sake, is stop the recording and restart it so that the next
Okay.
call
Mhm.
will be for Gotam.
It's good. Yeah, I'll
Okay. So
stick about.
all right. I'm going to turn the video recorder off.